Welcome, everybody, to Innate Interviews. I'm your host, Dr. Haig John, and I'm excited to have my good friend, Dr. Neil Cohen, join us today on Innate Interviews. Welcome, Dr. Neil. My buddy, how you been?
I am amazing. So happy to be here, my brother. And thank you for having me on Innate Podcast.
Well, we've been trying to hook up and connect, and your schedule's busy, my schedule, and now we've got it. I'm so excited to see your face and talk to you this morning.
Cool, man.
Well, we've known each other for quite some time. You've been in successful practice in South Florida, and then, a speaker at Dynamic Essentials, and, VP at Sherman. And, I'm really excited and proud to have you on the show today.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we do go back a long way. And I think back to how you came up in my life and how God is so amazing.
Amen.
He coordinates all things, not just in our body, but in this amazing world. And I'll just tell the brief, quick introduction, if I may. I had a wonderful family coming in to see me, and she was telling me about her mom, and her mom lived up in the Melbourne area, and she started to see a chiropractor because she was, the daughter was coming to see me. And at the time, and I still, well, who are you going to? Because who you go to in chiropractic matters. The chiropractor you choose is probably a very important decision. I think most of us would agree. So she gives me this name, and this name is Haig John. And I'm like, well, first of all, that's a very odd name. You sure it's not John Haig? And she goes, no, it's Haig John. And I said, well, why don't you, bring me whatever he's given her as a report. So I look at it, and it was totally principled. It was amazing. I loved it. And I'm like, who is this Haig John? I got to meet him. So that's where our relationship began. And then I found out that you were roommates with my first cousin in college.
That's right.
So I'm like, wait a minute, this is meant to be. And then when I see your face and people mistake you for me and me for you, I'm like thinking, we're friends forever, brother. I just love you very much. And thank you for having me on this beautiful, beautiful podcast today.
Well, thank you. And, I have to say, it's great having the best looking man in chiropractic on Innate Interviews. So I take those with great pride and great, when people say, oh, you look a lot like Neil Cohen. And I had a gentleman the other day said, hey, I'm so excited about your podcast. And he thought I was you. And I said, well, I'm excited you're on Dr. Neil's podcast because I know you're getting the real juice for sure of chiropractic. That's awesome. Well, yesterday in practice, I had one of my practice members who I call them just our people. These are our people. I've been in practice 21 years. He has come since I had my dog Cleet in the office, and that was 21 years ago. And so I felt honored, and I had just served his dog, and she's at the end of her life cycle. We made her more comfortable, and I remember coming to your house and adjusting Tiger, your dog, and a similar situation. And literally, you were in my heart yesterday afternoon as I was serving.
Thank you so much. And I remember meeting Cleet at the gathering.
Yep.
First gathering I ever went to, you were there, and
with my dog, my dachshund. Yep.
Cleet. Yeah, and I remember. I mean, Cleet. He was like 40 years old or something. Right? He was the oldest dog I'd ever met.
Probably, yeah. Well, he actually lived to about 19 years old.
Oh my goodness!
And he was paralyzed twice, and it was chiropractic that brought him back. Once by a chiropractor while I was in school was adjusting him, and that's when I realized this power of what we're doing is real. There's no placebo effect with these animals, right?
Right.
And we saw that transformation. For me, that moment of going to the chiropractor with the dog solidified I'm in the right place. We're doing amazing things. I'm looking at my mentors behind you. We've had BJ Palmer through the attrition of the great chiropractors that came before us. You got Herbert Ross Reaver up there and Dr. Sid Williams in your book on your right shoulder. And, all that love of chiropractic to serve the people. And of course, occasionally, dogs are people too, our furry friends. But ultimately, is we're doing something amazing. And why don't you talk about a little bit about your journey in chiropractic because it's an amazing one.
Yeah. My journey, first, I always wanted to do something that was significant. I remember being a little boy and just, realizing the responsibility and the importance of what I would become as an adult. And I used to pray as a little boy that God would put something in my life that was of value, significance, and worth, and I could help people. I always wanted to help people. And I thought about things that little boys think about. Well, maybe I'll be a police officer, a fireman, or something like that. And by the time I got to college, I still did not know what God wanted for me. So I went into college. I took all the electives I could possibly take for 2 years, and then I dropped out. And I started working pretty hard, doing things I like to do, working on muscle cars and customizing cars and doing things like that. But I was not fulfilled. And I met my beautiful wife, Randi, in 1979. And she was going to a chiropractor. And I didn't understand why. I really wasn't even that interested in the whole thing. And she would have these headaches, and she would go 2 or 3 times a week to the chiropractor. And it was somebody she knew, somebody she loved. And I kind of held her feet to the fire one day. I said, why do you keep going if you still have these problems? Like, it didn't make sense to my allopathic programming. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, why don't you come and you could talk to him? So I went and I spoke with the chiropractor. I was young and I was full of energy. And I said, well, what is this stuff? And he kind of looked at me with a very disarming and charming smile and just shook his head and said, I'd like to check you. And I love I love Randi, and I want to check you. So he did an x-ray. He showed me I had what he then termed as a military neck. He made an adjustment on me. And from that moment, and this was the beautiful thing, my life changed.
Yeah.
I felt as though that I had been carrying something my entire life, didn't know I was carrying it until I got that adjustment. And then it fell off. And I said to him, where have they been keeping this? And he just shook his head, very charming and disarming, and couldn't tell me anything. And if anybody that knows me knows I like clarity. I had to find out, what is this? How does it work? I had done my 2 years of college. I didn't learn anything about this. I'd never been to a chiropractor. So I started to do my research, couldn't find out a whole lot back then. Mm-hmm. But I did decide, this is my lot in life. I want to be a chiropractor. So I got a list of all the schools in the entire country, and I wrote away to all the schools, one letter on carbon paper. I think it was 18 letters I sent, and I chose the right school for the wrong reason.
Okay.
I chose Life College because it was the closest to Florida. It was in Georgia.
Yeah.
And I went to Life College. It was pretty new. This was 1982. Randi and I took a trip up there. I got the tour. I started there in the spring of 83. Had a great class. We only had about 100 people in our class. Nice small class. And I started to understand, listen, and apprehend this profound philosophy. Yeah. Dr. Sid Williams was so dedicated to helping us understand the impact that we can have in the world. And I started to realize this was the fulfillment of my childhood dream.
Yeah.
And so the principle, even though I didn't quite understand it, I bought it hook, line, and sinker, just from the experience of chiropractic. And it was a seed that was planted in me, and that seed has grown. But I want to say something. I want to thank my wife, Randi, for birthing chiropractic into our lives.
Wow.
Because if it wasn't for her going, um, I would not have had that experience. And two of my three children have become incredible chiropractors. So we love chiropractic. We live chiropractic, and we don't. We know that God has given us this beautiful, beautiful philosophy, which is priceless to live by. So that's how I got into it, and of course, practice was wonderful and successful for many years until I got the calling to go to Sherman College in 2014 and spent almost 10 years there. And following Sherman, I had to be resilient, had to reinvent myself in such a way that was still honoring chiropractic. And God had me write the book. I
Yeah.
wrote the book, A Hope Without End, which is a 33-day devotional to a healthier mindset. And what it does is it shares the indivisibility between our philosophy, chiropractic, and God being the healer. It demonstrates that through scripture. And we have to understand, because chiropractic, I often think, can be worshiped as a god or worshiped as an idol. It's really not. God has delivered us to have chiropractic so we can glorify him. God doesn't need chiropractic to heal people, but he gives us that opportunity to glorify him. And so what I've done is I've set up this 33-day devotional, which you can read in your office, 2 or 3 pages each day. And it really promotes incredible encouragement to the staff, to the patients that you will share the information with. It's a beautiful thing. So wrote the book. I'm doing a coaching program now that's very, very specific, very tailored to individuals.
You know, that's it. I'm going to just step back for a little bit and talk about that book in the mornings. We read, I've been reading Alan Cohen's book, A Deep Breath of Life, and now we're going to switch to Neil Cohen's book. And because we actually did start reading it in with a daily read, and we got grounded. I just put it aside. Now it's time to bring it back to our team, because a lot of that is very important. We're talking about service to God and chiropractic. Dee Dee talked about that. That's what our religious duty as a chiropractor. If it's not our religious duty, make it our moral duty to serve the people chiropractic care. They deserve it. And the work you did at Sherman back, when you were there and with Dr. Ed Cordero. You boosted up the student body tremendously. You made the school more robust and truly made a transformational change on that campus. And that is truly a blessing for chiropractic itself. And I just want to thank you for that and your time there for sure. And going back a little bit more with BJ over your head over there, and going back to that story with Randy, you don't know how far-reaching the things you think, say, or do will change the lives of millions tomorrow. And Neil Cohen and myself actually being part of that, because if it wasn't for somebody mentioning, hey, you'd be a great chiropractor, and then I couldn't think of anything else. Nothing.
Mm.
And I did the same thing, digging through the card catalog, nothing about chiropractic. I went to I already had a college degree, but then I went to go get the prereqs at the community college, and all the counselors and everybody tried to talk me out of chiropractic, but you couldn't do it because they were ignorant to it in reality.
Right.
So, we go through those challenges, and I'm so happy you told these stories, because we have a lot of people that aren't chiropractors yet on the podcast that listen in. So, if you feel that inkling, I had a woman in my class, she was 64 years old and starting in class and said, you know what, chiropractic saved my life. I'm going to be a chiropractor.
Love it.
So
Love
whatever it takes, if it feels right, and this is a calling, it truly is. So thank you for your service in chiropractic. So your journey now from the book and your coaching program, above down success coaching. And so, you've got a good launch on there, and you're helping chiropractors become successful. What have you seen? What can you give as a general, input for chiropractors looking for something, to change or inspiration in their practice, or where does it all begin for the server?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that people are, especially chiropractors, they're thrown into the profession without any leadership skills. I think leadership skills are very important. The other thing, and we can talk about leadership if you'd like, the other thing that I think is important is communication skills. We have to be able to communicate with people, understand where they are, and know how to bring them to a position where they're empowered. Because chiropractic is about empowering the people, not empowering ourselves. They come in with everything they need to be healthy, but they don't know that. It sort of reminds me of the Wizard of Oz. You have these characters that they're looking for a heart, they're looking for a brain, you're looking for courage,
Yeah.
and they find out at the end that they've had them the whole time. This is what the chiropractor's job is. How do we communicate that message without sounding without being too steep? And I
Yeah.
think chiropractors have, because we're excited, because we are emotional in many cases, chiropractors, we're feelings type people. We want everyone to get it. And sometimes you have to give it to them in a way that's more digestible rather than stepping upon their belief system. You have to ask them questions about why they believe what they believe, and so communication is super important. Leadership is important. And what I've noticed lately, obviously lately for me would be almost 15 years out of practice now, is that the schools, and I knew this prior when I was at Sherman's doing a great job,
Yeah.
but a lot of the schools aren't teaching really how to adjust properly, how to analyze and correct vertebral subluxations. And that's where guys like you and I come in, who have a system, who
Yeah.
have an understanding, who know. And here I'm going to say something that may freak a lot of people out, but you got to know when to adjust and when not to adjust.
Oh,
And,
yes.
and that's really important, is knowing that the power is in the chiropractic check, not necessarily in the chiropractic adjustment. The adjustment really has no power. The power is in the people, but it's getting people to understand that they need to be checked regularly. And we don't do a very good job with that in our profession. It's always, did you get an adjustment? Have you been adjusted? Well, okay, well, that's not a bad thing, because most of the time we are subluxated and need that. But I think we have to change the way we lay out what we do, and it's really about the chiropractic check, isn't it?
Well, and that's exactly right. And we have an associate in my office right now, and that's the one thing. Look at your indicators. Is it time to adjust? Is that the right vertebra to adjust? Because
Mm.
it's going to make a sound does not mean that it was an adjustment. And what my technique in innate adjusting, and now we're also doing it's called anchor release method. And what we're doing is finding that one critical point of tension with that one subluxation, and we see the whole system change. It's not how much, it's really how little we can do, because the body doesn't want input, doesn't need a lot of forces. It wants to be in homeostasis. So the least amount of input for the greatest amount of change. And I think of Herbert Ross Reaver over your left shoulder up there. One of the things, I think it was Sigafus, they did an interview with him, and he was 90 something years old. Why do you still adjust people? You don't have to work. You're 90 plus years old. And he said, because every day I have a chance to teach somebody about innate,
Mm.
of how
Mm.
powerful they are, right? The God inside of you. And I get to show you how powerful you really are. Really. That's what that really means. That's what the education of a long time ago really was. And not how much I could dabble and affect your digestion and these things, but showing you how powerful you really are. And I thought that was absolutely amazing from, an amazing man that stood up for his beliefs in chiropractic.
Yeah, we're blessed to have him, and he persevered through a lot.
Oh my
And
goodness.
And I think that's another thing. When we talk about leadership, these folks, we had uh, seven 681 went to jail for chiropractic,
Yes.
for practicing medicine without a license.
That's what they called it, right?
Yes,
But they
yes,
didn't want they would not accept a license that is regulated by a medical board.
right.
And that's where they could have paid $1 to get out, right?
That's right.
They said, no, we're standing up for what we believe in.
And that's true leadership. And you mentioned this word the other day, not the other day, the other moment, uh, transformation. Transformation is what we do. There's two types of leadership. I mentioned leadership before. We have transformational leadership and we have transactional leadership. And we do them both. We raise children, we want them to be good, and we reward them. That's transactional. But what we really want to strive for is transformational leadership. And chiropractic at its heart is transformational. We're transforming lives. We're transforming the way people are adapting to the world. We have this incredible responsibility, and yet we want to, and you kind of mentioned this before, we relegate it to the effects. It's not about the effects. It's about what we're doing to transform the body so it works at a higher level. And I think that what we have to understand in leadership is that we have to come from a transformational mindset. And that's what I've tried. I'm not even going to say try. That's what I do with coaching. It's really not about how much can I get out of you. It's about how can we transform you into the individual that God wants you to be? Meaning that it's not a cookie cutter. I mean, I could learn techniques and be a cookie cutter chiropractor. I could learn the exact verbiage to say to get people to sign on to a plan. I could know the exact verbiage to say to put people in a state when they see their X-ray report. But am I really transforming their lives, or am I using a strategy and a technique to get what I want? Okay. And it's really not about getting what I want. It's about giving them what they need.
Yeah.
And we have to be able to give people what they need. And it's true that some people coming into you, it's not the right moment for them to commit to chiropractic care. We have to honor that. Not look at it as we failed and we should have done this, or we have to say it this way. We have to tell people the truth. And the truth is this, is that the nervous system is responsible for every aspect of their life. And what we do is we ensure that the nervous system is as free as it could possibly be. And we're really the only ones that do that. And the reason why we do that is because your body can heal, and we want it to heal at the highest level. So my exhortation, my encouragement to you is that you get your nervous system checked as frequently as I suggest for you to have the best life that you can. And that's really up to you. And so if we speak in terms of truth instead of terms of technique and strategy and scaring people into making decisions, I don't know. I think that we're fulfilling God's will more than our own will.
Well, and you touched on some really important things, very important, that it's not about us. It's all about them. And, not every person is even cookie cutter coming into us. And to have a same script or whatever it is, that's, two 1980s. In reality, people want to know they're in the right place and that we can help them. And that because a lot of them are overcoming challenges even from their family, just coming to the chiropractor saying,
Right.
maybe you shouldn't be there. But now we know they're healthier when they come in, and you're really creating a relationship. You come in a relationship, and being authentic is what I also teach and talk about. We're our authentic self. I'm not Neil Cohen, even though, he is the best looking man in chiropractic. But the reality of it is, hey, we're coming in as our authentic self. And the same thing with them, finding their authenticity and helping them transform whatever it's not necessarily happening to them, but happening with them. And we're creating a relationship, chiropractor and person. That's, to me, it's a sacred trust. It really is.
Yeah, yeah. And you said the word trust, which is really what was running through my mind the entire time you were speaking, which is the foundation of all phenomenal relationships, is
Yeah.
we have to have a foundation of trust. And that is really what we want when we're building the relationship with a brand new person coming in. We want them to trust us, and we want to be able to trust them as well.
And also
And
being trustworthy, right?
yes,
That's where we're being our authentic, and that is we are worth your trust because we are coming from this authentic place and
right.
serving the people with, from above down, inside out.
Right. So leadership, communication, technique, or ability to deliver the goods in a way that is ethical. Ethical. And you mentioned it, it's not about making noises and cracking bones.
Yeah.
It's really about finding the major subluxation, adjusting it, and allowing the body to do its thing. We've intertwined a lot of our flesh into this profession, and we need to get our flesh out of it. God made the body, God heals the body. We make the adjustment, God heals the body. It's not our technique. Not all techniques are for everyone, I'll say that.
Absolutely
And I'm
right.
glad we have a lot of them.
Yep.
But we have a lot of subluxations in chiropractic because we believe that it has to be upper cervical, or we believe it has to be Thompson or whatever it is. There's hundreds of techniques. It's not about that. It's about God delivering those people into your practice for you to give them the gift that He's given you, which is the heart, the head, and the hands to adjust, and then allow that body to work the way it needs to work. So I'm so grateful that we have chiropractic, and I honor those that are principled chiropractors and want to deliver the best chiropractic adjustment possible.
Well, going back into adjusting just a second is, what you feel your body is comfortable doing and what that person really needs. That's where, this technique is what's right for us. And having a few in our bag of tricks, or whatever we want to call it, of service, is important. I just had a talk with my associate yesterday of, listen, feel what is right for you. It's coming through you. When things, and I learned this from Dr. Art Kaufman, may he rest in peace, that he learned from Dr. Clay Thompson, also may he rest in peace, that, when you serve as Haig, you serve as Neil, and then if it seems like something's not quite right, go strictly technique. Follow Thompson 100%. And that's actually what I do, or SOT. And we had that talk yesterday. And where follow the protocol, look for your things, your indicators. If something's not 100% right or you're not getting it, you can change your gears and really get focused and see what's happening with this person and not just to them. So I want to mention, you're coaching the book. I want to make sure we're going to have your links. Make sure you send them over to us so we're going to put them in the section for this podcast, and so people can connect with you. And you're also doing a podcast. Is that correct?
No, not yet, not
Okay.
yet. But thanks. Maybe I should be now that you mentioned it. Right?
Absolutely. We can join together and do a couple together again. I
I
love
love
having
it.
you on
I
because
love
I
it.
love to see you. I miss you.
Can I add something to
Go ahead.
something you said really struck me, and one of the things that I think is important with coaching too, because you talked about being your authentic self. I spent many years, and I'm just going to be very transparent here. I spent many years trying to imitate other successful people.
Sure.
I did.
Understood.
I thought that was, the key. I thought that, my goals had to be their goals or what they were accomplishing. And I spent many years doing that, and I wasn't happy. And there was a part of me that was just not happy because I wasn't able to achieve them. It's like I couldn't be them as much as I tried. And then I learned something about myself. And I want to share this with those that are listening. You have to know it's imperative that you know what your own core values are. Unless
I'm writing that
you
down. Yep.
unless you understand your core values, and usually there's two or three top core values, you cannot be the person that you want to be. So if I'm trying to be someone else's core value, for instance, I'm gonna be really transparent. I don't have a core value of abundance. A lot of people, you hear this word in chiropractic a lot: abundance, 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 abundance. Okay. And there's nothing wrong with that as a core value. In fact, any core value, any healthy core value, there's nothing wrong with. But I was functioning under the abundance core value when I didn't have abundance as a core value. What I had as a core value were commitment, passion. Those were my core values. And anybody that knows me could say, oh, that makes sense. You're very committed and you're very passionate about what you do. So if I tried to be abundant, it wouldn't work. And so when I realized I was passionate and committed, then my focus on everything I did came from those core values. And guess what happened? Abundance grew because I became who I actually was. So I'm going to suggest to everyone that's listening to know what your core values are. And when if we put my website up on this, you can go to my website and there's actually a core values evaluation that you can take. You don't even have to send it to me. There's a button. If you want to send it to me, you can, and we can have a discussion about it. But you could find out, even you, Hank, find out what your core values are just by taking that evaluation.
Give us the website, and I'm doing it today.
It's abovedownsuccesscoaching.com.
Okay.
And you just go to abovedownsuccesscoaching.com, and it's in the tabs above. It'll say core values eval. Hit that, and you could figure out who you are. And man, it is just so illuminating. And you realize, oh my gosh, that's why I say that. That's why I do that. That's why I'm this type of individual. And really, it gives us an opportunity. And that's what I mean by coaching people. You have to coach them with who they are, not coach them to be who you want them to be. And I think in coaching today, and coaching is pretty big in chiropractic, which I think it's not a bad thing. But what we have to do is we have to coach more individualized. What's the best way to coach? Hey, John, what's the best way to coach Neil Cohen? What's the best way to coach Sid Williams? And it's going to be three different ways that we coach. So, yeah, core values are important. Leadership is important. Communication, knowing how to adjust, all those are really, really important. And listen, chiropractors, I'm going to exhort you to do this. Get your finances in order. Get your finances in order. You don't want to die broke. And I see a lot of chiropractors dying broke. You don't need to die broke. We have opportunities where you can understand how to create generational wealth in your family that allows you to be valued for what you have accomplished. It's not just about checking and adjusting and letting the finances do what they want. You have to have a plan financially. That's another thing that I think chiropractors really need, and we help them to do.
Well, that is a fine point. And, everything from, putting 10% away and investing and, compounded interest. Those are things that we don't learn in school. And I think that's extremely important for every profession, every person. That's a very, very important thing.
Yeah.
Dr. Neil Cohen, thank you so much, coach, author, vice president, and extremely good looking man. I'm so blessed to have you on this podcast, my brother, and I really appreciate you. And give our love to your lovely wife. And I can't wait to have you back on again because this was a great meeting with you today.
I love you, man. Looking forward to it. Have a blessed day.
Love and appreciate you, my brother.
Thanks.